Hi, my name is Ron Lehman. I'm from the Faux school, and today I'm going to show you a decorative plaster treatment with using a textured plaster you can apply to just about any wall in your house, interior or exterior for this application, using our Faux stone product and our classic wall glaze. So let's get our tools and our materials and let's get started. So what I've done to get ready for our decorative plaster treatment is I've base coated the surface using the quartz primer. The quartz primer dries to a dead flat. It's acrylic, it's interior, it's an exterior, and it cleans up with soap and water. You can tint it to any color you would like, but for this case I'm going to use white. Now the product I'm going to use is called Faux stone. Faux stone is an acrylic plaster, interior, exterior plaster. It doesn't have to go over the quartz primer. It can go over top of any flat primer for interior use. If you're going to do it outside, you got to use the quartz primer. We won't stand behind the product if you use a different primer underneath and put it on the exterior of a building. If you want to get the warranty of the product to make sure that it's not going to fail, you got to follow the rules, the steps. Quartz primer, Faux stone, and a proprietary top coat. That way you're guaranteed it's not going to fail. Now for this case, I'm not going to use any tint in the Faux stone. I'm just going to put it directly on the surface using my trowel, and I'm going to keep my spatula handy. And I'm just going to let it roll off my blade. You can hear how gritty it is. The Faux stone is a neat product. There's so much you can do with it. That was my corner. I'll come down my side. Make sure you cover up really, really well, meaning cover your floors, because it goes all over the place. It's very thick, and at times it can be a little bit of a pain to control. But you can hear how gritty it is on the surface. But I'm not too concerned about how I'm putting it on, meaning I just want to get the surface covered. Now what I'm going to do is a gather up, meaning I'm just going to catch any big loose stuff. Not too concerned about the way it's going to look just yet. This is just going to be my bed coat. Alright, so now I'm good. Let's just simply make sure it's not sloppy looking. There's our first step. It's that simple. Now this needs to dry 100% overnight in this case. So we'll let it dry, come back, show you step 2. We're dry, hands aren't clean, but we're dry. So now, next application. Taking our trowel, we're just going to put some plaster on like so with a Faux stone. I'm going to tap the surface like so, kind of glob it on. Not a very technical word, but that's what it is. And then I'm going to come back and start to knock some of this down. Some people refer to it as a skip trowel. I don't have a fancy name for it. Just trying to make that nice old looking, old world plaster look. Or an old texture, not old world plaster, but just an old textured look on an old wall. What you got to be careful of is that you don't get like lots of little islands and little tiny areas of color, or areas of I can't think all of a sudden. You don't want to get a lot of little areas where it becomes too busy, but you don't want to flatten the whole thing out so much that you get these big pockets of big giant islands. You don't want that either. Alright, so I'm putting it on probably about, it's pretty thick. Going to kind of knock around here, make sure I don't get any trowel marks, make sure I'm happy with the way everything looks. That's that. We're going to let this dry 100%, and we're going to come back and do our stencil treatment. Now, a couple things to remember about the Faux stone product. If you dry it too fast under a hairdryer, it's going to crack. Remember, and they're not controllable cracks, they're just cracks. So now, whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, I'm going to take my tape and a trusty little stencil. And I'm going to start with the first stencil out up here. Like so. Now I'm going to take my faux stone on my spatula. Man, come on now. Alright. And simply just come across like so. Don't need to spend a lot of time working it into the stencil, because the more time you spend, the greater your chances are it's going to scooch underneath the stencil and make a mess. So you'll put this one here like this. If I was doing this on a project, I'd make sure I'd have this level so I could check it to make sure it's nice and square, straight, plumb. And again, just come across. Now if you're doing your house and you don't want to do the stencil, don't do the stencil. You don't have to. Nobody's making you. It's your house. We'll do one more over here. Now I show this in the workshops. I show you all the cool little tricks for corners, ceilings, and baseboards. So one more like so. And that's it. Okay, so put the extra back in the container, let it dry overnight. We'll come back and we'll apply some glaze to it. Okay, stencil's dry, so the next thing I'm going to do is take a piece of sandpaper. This is just 220 grit. I don't want anything too aggressive. All I simply want to do is knock down any rough stuff. I'm not trying to oversand it, and as you can see, there's a dust. So, yeah, if I was doing a big room, I'd obviously be wearing a mask. If I'm working in somebody's house, I'm going to use one of my negative air machines to make sure I clean the air so I don't have to worry about a big dusty mess. Now, the next step, my black nylon bristle paintbrush, Purdy Peacock, my favorite brush. I'm going to use my classic wall glaze. The reason I'm using the classic wall glaze is it's a wall, and I can tint it with paint. If I was doing a room, I'm going to be doing a large surface, so I want to use a lot of glaze. So when you go between the two glazes, the scumble glaze or the wall glaze, cost comes into consideration. I get the exact same performance out of the classic wall glaze. So what I'm going to simply do now is take my spritzer bottle and just mist it, and that hydrates the surface so that I have a little bit more time with my glaze. And I'm going to brush the glaze on very lightly. I could have diluted my glaze a little bit. It's pretty thick. I mean, I can even come back now and just spray into it and work this out. Because I don't want it to be real dark. I just want it to simply go in there and highlight that texture. Water. It's not going to hurt the glaze at all. Get a little bit more. I just want a very light touch of the color on here. I don't want to get crazy with it. I don't want it too dark. Okay. That's finished. Take my rag and use it flat. So I'm not going to wad it up. I'm going to kind of flatten it out. Like so. And then it's going to simply come in here and pull off all my excess glaze. Not extra glaze, but just excess. Notice I'm going all over different directions. There's almost too much rag. I mean, it's a little hard to handle. The good thing is you can change any color. The glaze can be changed to a different color. You can use some nice greens, some warm, soft grays. You can tint the faux stone to a different color. And I can come in here a little bit more, like so. If I want, I can just kind of dust over top. Watch, I can go in here. This is a dry brush now. And just take that dry brush and go over top of things a little bit, see how it warms it up. And if I was doing a big wall, I'd probably have somebody helping me. One person putting it on. One person manipulating. Okay. Now, like I said, the faux stone has a tendency to crack when it goes on too thick or dries too quickly. And I put this on pretty quick, or pretty thick. It was pretty quick, but it's pretty thick. If you look here, you can see some cracking here, cracking there. That's no big deal. It works because it's not overbearing. It's not too many cracks or all over the place. A couple cracks here and there are kind of fun. I can take the hairdryer and just kind of hold it in those spots to make it really, get a couple cracks. Crackle medium just cracks everywhere. It's not a very attractive look for this finish. And there you have it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. Feel free to send me an email, call the studio. We'll do our best to answer you as quickly as we can. My name is Ron Lehman. I'm from the Faux School, and thank you for watching.